Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon spoilers video. So over the past couple of days we got some new cards and new information, so let's just talk about it. First up we have Star Mons. So Star Mon does have a really interesting on-play ability where you get to choose one of the opponent's Digimon and then minus 1000 DP until the end of the turn for each of your Digimon in play. So yes, this ability would count towards himself, so he's already by default minusing the opponent's Digimon by 1000. And then if you have any other Digimon, this ability just gets more and more powerful. So this really rewards you for having a wide field, and this definitely could be a potential card that Rookie Rush might be looking to play, just because they're already going to try to have a wide field, and then you could use this to basically just try to get rid of a blocker, which is one of the big worries that Rookie Rush faces. I think this is a pretty interesting card. Whether it's going to actually see lots of play or not is definitely going to be determined by some of the other cards in the set, but I definitely think this is a really interesting card. I don't know, again, if it's going to be super good or super bad, but it's definitely one to play around with because in a lot of other yellow decks, they generally don't really aggress very hard, so they could build a wide board themselves, and then you could use this to help finish off or start minusing the opponent's DP down, so that way you could start clearing their Digimon. So there's just a whole bunch of different things you could use with this card, and I don't necessarily think it's bad, but I don't know how good it's going to be either. Considering yellow already likes to try to play around with it, cheesing out some of its level 3s, so you could use this in combination with one of those Digimon to then minus the opponent's card by 2000 DP, so who knows, this card just seems really interesting to play around with. Next we have Shooting Starmon. So Shooting Starmon is just stat-wise your average yellow level 4, nothing really too special to talk about, 5 to play, 2 to evolve, 4000 DP. But what's really interesting about the card is the fact that its innate ability is a when destroyed ability, or when deleted ability, where you get to choose one of the opponent's Digimon and minus 3000 it until the end of the turn. So this is pretty interesting because yellow plays a little bit around with when destroyed, and they don't really have a whole lot of ways, so this might be like a good card to include in like a yellow-purple deck, where purple has a whole bunch of ways to trigger your when destroyed abilities, so who knows, that this card might be play in a deck like that, but ordinarily this doesn't strike me as something yellow is generally going to want to play a whole lot of, because a lot of the times these when destroyed abilities aren't necessarily super defensive, they're more offensive, and yellow is generally seen as a more like defense or control orientated color, so who knows. Next we have Super Starmon. So Super Starmon is a pretty decent card for yellow just because it is another level 5 that has an evo cost of 2. Even though it really doesn't do anything, it's like that middle ground stat where it's not exactly super weak, but it's not exactly super strong. So who knows how good this card's actually going to end up being or how much play is going to be, but the fact that yellow does have another level 5 with an evo cost of 2 is definitely something noteworthy, because generally that is the main reason why you would play certain cards is for their evo costs or their particular stat lines, so maybe this card's fitting a particular stat line that they want to be playing around with, so who knows, he seems decent enough. Next, we have Chaos Galatmon. So Chaos Galatmon is looking to be a really powerful Digimon. So he is a purple level 6. Stat-wise, nothing too special to talk about. He is on the slightly higher side in terms of Evos. So he is 4 to Evo, which means he has 12,000 DP, which is really good for purple because, again, purple doesn't have a whole lot of those. And then on top of which, he has 2 really powerful abilities. So his first ability is a when evolved ability. You get to destroy one of your Digimon and destroy one of the opponent's Digimon that is level 5 or lower. So this is basically Chimeramon's effect, except it's on Evo instead of on play, which that's still a pretty good effect, because removal is always good. And then he has another ability where during your turn, once per turn, when one of your Digimon is destroyed, you can play a level 3 purple Digimon from your trash for free, and then that Digimon doesn't get its when played effect. So this is just really powerful because this kind of ties into his when Digivolving ability, where you're going to pop one of your dudes to pop one of their dudes, and then his other effect will kick in to let you revive a level 3, and that's just really, really powerful just because essentially you're making the opponent lose something while you're basically not, so that's just really, really good. On top of which, if you pair this up with a whole bunch of other cards that do more self-sacrificing synergy, then this card just lets you always have a Digimon around, and that's just really, really good. One big thing to note, it is once per turn, so there are limitations on how much you can use this effect, but the fact that the effect is still very, very powerful is nice for sure. And again, this combos very, very nicely with what purple is doing because purple likes to be rezzing a whole lot of stuff. Purple has a whole bunch of really good level 3s that they want to res, and this card also just works with a whole bunch of other cards from the previous sets. Like this card in combination with Anubismon is going to be absolutely insane. Even though we kind of already have this type of style of effect, it's just really nice to think that, oh, if I literally just have a Chaos Galatmon and an Anubismon sitting on the field, I could just swing with a level 3, it dies, and then Galatmon brings back another level 3, and then Anubismon can make that level 3 swing right away. So there's just a whole bunch of potential combos and synergies that this card has, and he's definitely going to be looking like a very powerful card for purple. Next, we do have a little bit of news where we know we're going to be getting Metal Greymon Alteris mode and Weregarurumon Sagittarius mode. So I'm definitely excited to see what these cards are going to be able to do when they get fully revealed. But for now, just the fact knowing that they're going to be in the set is definitely really, really interesting because of all the possibilities that they can bring. Next, we have Assistant Terriermon. So this is going to be a pretty interesting card. Stat-wise, he's not really doing anything too special for a level 3 green Digimon, but what is really interesting is the fact that he does have the Digiburst mechanic. He has the main ability of Digiburst 1, where you get to check the top card of your deck, and if it's a green Digimon, you get to put it into your hand. Otherwise, it goes to the bottom. So again, I don't necessarily know how good this is going to be in the long run, considering we have Tentomon from the green starter deck doing basically the exact same thing, but the really interesting thing with Assistant Terriermon is the fact that it is a Digiburst ability, so this works with all of the Digiburst synergies that the previous set had. So we might be seeing a little bit more Digiburst synergy in this set as well, on top of which it's still not a bad card just because you could evolve this to get that Tentomon ability, where with Tentomon you have to play it, so this is just a little bit more memory efficient, especially if you're going to be Digibursting anyway on some of the other levels, or you don't necessarily care about your abilities and you're just trying to efficiently find your cards and Digivolve up into a Mega. So who knows, this card could be a lot better than I give it credit for, and I definitely think it's a really interesting card because it is definitely good for green, because this is basically card draw, and card draw is always good. And then the last card of the batch is going to be Fake Agumon Expert. So Fake Agumon Expert is a purple level 3 Digimon, stats nothing too special there, but he does have a really interesting When Destroyed ability, where you get to add one level 3 Digimon that has a When Destroyed ability, except for Fake Agumon Expert, from your trash to your hand. So essentially what this means is when this card is destroyed, then you get to add another level 3 with a When Destroyed ability from your trash to your hand, and then the color restriction doesn't really matter. So you could play this with like purple yellow, because yellow has a couple of level 3s that have really good When Destroyed abilities. You could play this with some other purple cards because, you know, like Tapermon is still a card. You have Intmon, so like they still have some. You could play this with like a red purple if you want, and play this with Biomon. So there's just a whole bunch of cards that this card can target, and it definitely is a really interesting card to think about, just because of all of the synergies that it has with the When Destroyed ability, not only just for his own color, but for other colors as well. So this is definitely a really interesting card. Again, I don't exactly know how good this card is going to be in the long run. Maybe this changes Rookie Rush to be a little bit more When Destroyed focused, so that way you get benefits for when they're destroyed. who knows, it's just a really interesting card to think about just because of all of its applications, because it's already going to be really good in purple, just because, again, purple has a lot of really good when destroyed abilities on their level 3s, and just being able to add those back is really good. On top of which, he's just another good card to want to sacrifice, so that way you could use his ability to basically add another card from your trash to your hand. So he's just looking to be like a relatively decent card to think about using. So I definitely am really liking what the set currently has, even though we don't really have a whole lot to go off of at this point. But definitely what they're adding is really, really good and really, really exciting. I don't necessarily see that much power creep. A lot of it just feels like, oh, this is something we've already seen before, but done slightly different. And for the most part, that's pretty good for the overall health of the game, and I'm definitely excited to see where the rest of the set goes, because we already have Chaos Galatmon. We could potentially see his evolution line, which is the Black Guilmon line, so that's also something interesting to think about. And then we also still have form changes to think about, so that's a new mechanic that they could definitely be playing around with, and definitely that could change how things are done in the future in terms of form changes or like side evolutions. So that's just another really interesting thing. So that's really all I have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.